Good morning, everyone. And yeah, I miss being in the VST ECS. I miss talking in the tech summit. Yeah. This is the second time actually. The first one was I'm an employee from the VST. Okay,
Well, I
so
thought you are still with us.
yeah. I'll not make you any wait any longer. Let me just share my screen first. Yeah. So can you guys confirm if you are now able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Sir Mao. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Okay, so good morning, everyone. As mentioned by Sir Mao, I am Alex Hadalom, systems engineer from Fortinet, supporting the enterprise, the government, and the FSI. Wait for a while. Okay. So I'll be talking about the Fortinet AA-driven security operation. So it's more of the security operation solutions of the Fortinet, like for example, the EDR, the SIEM, the SOAR. We also have other component that could actually improve the SOC operations of most of the organizations. Okay. So here are the things that I'll be sharing with you guys all throughout my presentation. I'll be talking about the market trends and why most of the organization change the way in delivering their business and in terms of working as well. Okay. And of course, those digital innovations comes with the risk and the challenges. And after that, I'll be talking about the SOC solutions of the Fortinet and how are we going to help you guys to in your digital innovation journey. And lastly, of course, for you guys to understand how our solutions being implemented, I'll be discussed a higher level architecture of each of the product. All right. So let me discuss first what are the trends that drives the evolution of the digital innovation. Of course, in the advent of the pandemic, we are now actually working from home. Actually, I am presenting as a bahay lang ako. And there's a forecast about the working from home will be a new normal, and this is the way of new doing. Well, most of the even the large organizations are actually implementing this one. And here in the Philippines, I've seen a lot of clients that are doing teleworking, and because of that, most of the organization are migrating their applications from the traditional on-premise go to the cloud. And even the most conservative industry, like for example for the FSI, I've seen a lot of them migrating their applications. Some are actually building their hybrid cloud infrastructure, wherein they are also integrating the on-prem solutions going to the cloud. And when we say cloud, it's not just a single cloud. I've seen clients like they have 5 IaaS infrastructure. They have aside from that, they have SaaS. So imagine the impact of the pandemic and as well as the digital innovations. The next one, of course, the IoT and the OT. And in terms of the manufacturing industry, the IoT and the IT are now converging. And because of that, the threats on the OT environment are actually really bad. Yeah. And of course, if you're familiar with the Colonial Pipeline, imagine the attack, right? Colonial Pipeline was the latest one, but one of the biggest attack in the OT environment, and not just that, the Colonial Pipeline, but as well as on the other part or on the other years, there's a lot of attacks in the OT environment. And when we say attack on the OT, it actually costs lives. So imagine, meron tayong mga water dams. We have, like for example, mga nuclear power plants wherein if na-attack yon, so imagine the impact, right? And of course, the last one is the threat landscape. And the attack nowadays are becoming more sophisticated over the years. And the traditional way of, protecting the perimeter edge, having the security is it's not enough to protect our data, our infrastructure. All right. And because of those innovations that I mentioned a while ago, it comes with a risk, right? So of course, when we are protecting our network, we are, protecting the perimeter. The traditional way of protecting the perimeter is via what? Endpoint security, firewall. However, because of those innovations that I mentioned a while ago, like for example, the cloud, the IoT, and the BYOD, the perimeter is now everywhere. So we have to protect all of the edges because those could be an entry point or a vector from the hackers to infiltrate our network. Just to share with you guys some of the attacks that use the IoT as their entry point. There is a casino in the America wherein they hack it. The hackers hack the casino using the IP-based aquarium. So imagine, there's a lot of IoT devices connected in our network nowadays. Even some of the, what do you call this, industry, like for example, yung mga McDo natin, Jollibee, you will see a lot of parang mga kiosk wherein to automate the order and payment, there's already an IoT device. And those IoT devices could actually be infiltrate or could be used as the primary vector of all of the hackers. All right. Aside from the explosion of the risk, we have here the complexity, which is one of the problem that we are currently facing now. I consider complexity as a vulnerability, right? Because if a certain IT admin or security admin could not able to manage those multiple point product solutions, so there's no way to mitigate or to resolve the security incidents. Okay. So too many point products that don't communicate with each other with no ability to create the automated workflows and policy changes could actually causes or offers complexity to our network. Another one is too many alerts. There's a study on the Spiceworks wherein for every 1,000 employee, there are 2 to 3 IT admins, and those IT admin covers the network and the security. So imagine, thousands of people supporting by a thousand of employees supporting by 3 people. So napakahirap. And most of the IT admin or security admin are having alert fatigue. So there's a lot of alerts that's being bombarded by different security solutions. Another one is the manual and the slow response. Well, traditionally, in terms of responding to a certain incident, usually it will take us hours, sometimes days. And those, the gap in time, those could be leveraged by the hackers to do a lateral movement, privilege escalation attacks, and a lot more. And from those days, marami lang nangyari, marami lang na-hack, marami lang nakuha sa atin. Okay? And the last one, which is one of the problems of the cybersecurity world, is the lack of trained people. And this is being leveraged by the attackers or by the APTs to conduct attacks. So we are investing on a lot of security devices. Actually, in ibang company pa, they having 20 to 50 security solutions, and that costs millions. While the APT or the attackers are just using, open source. They're highly skilled, really. If we don't have the right skills to protect and monitor our network, hindi natin kaya even we have complete solutions. Okay? And because of the challenges that I mentioned a while ago, Fortinet offers a solution called Fortinet Security Fabric. Fortinet Security Fabric is not a solution. It's not a product. It's actually a solution, a platform, an integrated cybersecurity platform that integrates the entire security solution of Fortinet. So we have different product key pillars here: the zero trust network access, security-driven networking, adaptive cloud security, and the last one is the AI-driven security solutions. So yun doon mag-focus later on. All right. So what are the characteristics of the Fortinet Security Fabric? It is broad. It covers the entire digital attack surface. So kahit anong entry point, from the network, from the cloud, from the IoT, from different environment, like for example, for the OT environment, we have solutions for that. Okay. And integrated, which means all of the solutions are talking to each other. They are sharing threat intelligence. They are sharing telemetry to each other for a better threat intelligence for the entire cybersecurity platform. And automated, of course, since they are talking to each other, they could conduct an automated incident response. So it resolves the issue of having a lack of trained people, and slow response to the incidents. So mas mabilis and mas efficient yung security team natin if you are using automated response. All right. So for the first product that I'll be talking is the EDR solutions. We call it Forti EDR. You may be familiar with the EPP already, the usual antivirus that we have. Those EPP are actually focusing on preventing file-based attacks. So how about the EDR? EDR is actually a solution that could provide you threat hunting capability, digital forensic analysis on the endpoint level, and it will provide you a more deep visibility of what's really happening on your endpoint. No? So ano ba yung asan ba yung mga gold mines, asan ba yung mga data? They are located on the endpoint. That's why it's really important for us to have complete security on the endpoint level. Okay, so let me talk about our FortiEDR. FortiEDR offers a pre-infection and post-infection stages. So for the pre-infections, we offer real-time next-generation antivirus, and this is machine learning based. Okay. The next one is the FortiEDR offers real-time proactive risk mitigation, which gives you a control over the non-malicious applications communicating over the network. Of course, there's a lot of applications that we are using. Some applications are actually malicious, some are not. But there are malicious behavior that could be that could be used by the hack. For example, yung mga applications natin na unpatch. For example, yung mga Chrome, yung different applications that we are using, like for the Viber and everything, no? They are actually not malicious, but they could be used by the attackers to infiltrate the network. So our FortiEDR could actually do scanning of the endpoint in to see what are the possible vulnerable applications in place or installed on your network or on your endpoint. Okay. The next one is real-time detection and containment. If a sophisticated attack managed to get past the FortiEDR NGAV, just in case the NGAV was bypassed, post-infection detection and blocking are activated, and FortiEDR monitors the operating system at the kernel level. That's why even the endpoint or the agent are not connected to the core. Later on, I will discuss the major components of the FortiEDR. It could actually prevent and detect some of the most sophisticated attacks. And lastly, FortiEDR offers real-time orchestrated incident response. Every event is automatically classified based on how likely it is to be malicious. So there's an automated, no, depending on the security policy that we are going to configure or implement, it will automatically respond to the incident. Even those attacks that are actually evasive, yung mga attacks na mga slow, yung mga pa-channel na paunti-unti lang. There are attacks that pagkabating sa loob ng network, nagbumubo sila, no? So those are evasive attacks that actually can be protected and blocked by the FortiEDR. Okay. So what are the major components? The first component we have here is the collector. The collector is an agent that is installed on the endpoint. Like for example, Mac, Linux, Windows. And we also support those legacy OS, yung mga, for example, yung mga Windows XP, yung mga sinauna ng OS. So that's why our FortiEDR could be also implemented for the OT environment. No? So if you have OT environment or you have legacy OS that are being implemented and wala na tayong patch doon, no? One of the better solutions is to have our FortiEDR. Okay? And the next one is the core. The core node is the security policy enforcer and the decision maker. Everything that will be happen on the agent or the collector node, lahat yon decision core node yon. So everything will be decided by the core. And aside from that, we have also the threat hunting repository. Kanina narinig ko there are a question about the threat hunting, right? So on the FortiEDR, we also have that. By default, we have retention of up to 6 months. But if you would like to have it like more than 6 months, like a year, or you just need to have a additional license for the retention of those historical. Okay. The next one is the aggregator and the central manager. So basically, the aggregator is just aggregating a lot of process coming from different collectors and core, and the central manager is the UI. So this is where you control, you configure, and everything. Okay. So the last one is our Fortinet Cloud Service. Think this Fortinet Cloud Service as a second brain. For example, na-mention ko kanina, no, we are using core as a decision maker and the policy enforcer. Okay, so if in case that the core allows the initial traffic, the core will actually send the traffic going to the Fortinet Cloud Service, and this Fortinet Cloud Service will determine if that specific traffic is malicious or not. And for the second indication of the traffic or the attack, the Fortinet Cloud Service to the core could actually block those malicious traffic or malicious attacks. Okay. Siguro later on, no, I'll be answering those questions. May nakikita ako mga may nag-raise ng hand. Okay. So how about the typical deployment architecture? So this is the typical enterprise deployment. Organization could use a cloud-based central manager and cores and could supplement that with a local core. So if in case that we are implementing a teleworking wherein we have clients or we have employees that are working from office and some are working from off the road, and there are also some servers that need to be protected on the on-premise. You could put core from the cloud for those people who are working from anywhere, and for those people or server that needs to be protected on the on-premise. So that's how it works, no? It depend ang ano kasi ang behavior kasi ng collector is to communicate to the nearest core, because as I mentioned a while ago, the core is the decision maker and the policy enforcer. Okay. So let's take a look at the order of the operations on or how the FortiEDR works. Okay, the first one, there is a pre-execution filtering and the attack surface reduction or risk mitigation via our NGAV. This is the one that I mentioned a while ago, the pre-infection stages. Okay, if the attack is sophisticated enough to bypass the NGAV, it counters the post-infection protection. The collector, which sits on the kernel level, it collects all the OS metadata on the endpoint and sends directly with the core. Okay, so if in case that there is a ransomware, like for example, there is a malicious processes encrypting some of the devices, I mean files or OS itself, the FortiEDR could actually roll back because it has the snapshot of the whole OS of the device. So that's how it works. Of course, we have our own MDR on top of the EDR. Okay, so if you would like to have like dedicated FortiGuard malware analyst or those people who monitors the EDR, so you could have FortiResponder. We call it FortiResponder managed FortiResponder MDR. It provides organization with 24/7 continuous threat monitoring, alert triage, incident handling by experienced analysts. Those are the people coming from our FortiGuard threat labs. Okay, some of the key capabilities are 24/7 monitoring and response, alert triage with guided response, and of course guided remediation and instruction, as well as remote remediation and rollback. So, like for example, we would like to have some of the organization doesn't have the skills to manage their SOC, though some have their own SOC team, but sometimes they are actually masyadong maraming alerts and they could not efficiently manage those alerts. You could have our own team. We called it FortiResponder. No? This on top of the MDR. Okay. The next one is the incident response service. This one is a service. Kumbaga, for example, you don't have the FortiEDR, but you were breached or nangyari na, no? So there, and you would like to to resolve those incidents. You would like to do threat hunting, you would like to do incident response, you would have our own FortiResponder incident response service. This is a this being done remotely, and this is a scope of work base. It could do forensic analysis and incident response. Okay, so the next product that I'll be talking about is our SIEM. Okay, so for those people who don't know that Fortinet has SIEM, we actually have, no? So Fortinet is well known in terms of providing network security, but yeah, we also have our own SOC solutions. Okay, if you would like to gain visibility and you would like to know the security posture of your multi-vendor ecosystem, like for example, you have FortiGate, you have Cisco, and you have different vendor in place on your network, might as well consider having an SIEM on your network. Okay, that's really important to have a centralized logging analytics. Okay, and actually they called it as the heart of the SOC because it provides you a lot of information on what is happening on your entire network. Okay, so FortiSIEM offers 3 key areas: continuous security process automation, referencing a series of processes that maintain currency about the state of your environment. So ibig sabihin, if you have the FortiSIEM or an SIEM solution on your network, you would have the entire security posture of your entire environment. So it answers the question, like for example, what did your environment look like before the event? How was it performing? Was it vulnerable? What changed? What happened on your device? Later on, I'll be discussing some of the features of the FortiSIEM. It's not just a FortiSIEM or dedicated for the Security Operations Center. So later on, you will see how our FortiSIEM could work in parallel to the NOC environment as well. Okay. Sorry. The next one is accelerated incident detection. It's all about via our recommendation engine on our AI and machine learning. Well, most of the attacks are actually hindi sila napapansin, you know. Especially if we do not have the right people or the right solutions that could have visibility for your entire environment. It will not be monitored, and those could be take days before you solve this issue. And using our Forte SIEM, you could actually accelerate the incident detection. And see, SIEM namin, it have like for SOAR functionality a little bit. We called it automated script. This automated script could actually be, you know, automated the response. For example, there's attack coming from the switch level. As long as that we are managing that switch level, you could do automated response. So parang siyang SOAR-like functionality. Okay. And the lastly is the advanced security analytics. This is one of the core use cases that we have for the SIEM, of course, having security analytics for our environment. So I mentioned about a while ago about the analytics, and one of the key use cases of functionality of our SIEM is unified SOC and NOC analytics. Nakita niyo NOC. Why? Because traditionally, what we have is a silos environment, a silos team that could, you know, monitor the security events and monitor the performance metrics of those devices. And Forte SIEM actually converge the functionality of the SOC and the NOC. We don't just get the security event, but we also get performance matrix. And this is one of the key differentiators of the Forte SIEM. We converge the NOC and the SOC functionality. And we do have some clients that they are planning to, you know, kumbaga, palitan yung mga usual NMS. Okay, so NMS being used for NOC, but of course, those teams, like for example, network teams and the security teams, they don't collaborate because they are silos, right? So using our Forte SIEM, it actually collaborates both of those teams. Okay, so it monitors the performance of all of the devices. It monitors all of the you know, CPU utilization, the memory utilization, and everything. No? So it's not hindi lang siya a security event, but as well as performance metrics. Okay. The next key differentiator we have here is the rapid scale architecture. It allows the Forte SIEM to scale quickly and easily from a small single node to a massive distributed system processing, huge amount volumes. For example, no, maliit lang muna tayo. We only have this 2,000 EPS or maybe 1,000 EPS. But in the next phase, we'll be using different lag sources integrating with our Forte SIEM. So you don't need to re-architecture the entire Forte SIEM. We could use the rapid scale architecture. And one of the important factor or nodes for the rapid scale architecture is a third-party NFS or Elasticsearch. We are using that actually. Later on, makita natin what are the different nodes that we have here, like for example, the supervisor, the workers, and the collectors. If you are having, like for example, monitoring as well the Windows servers or the Linux server, of course, Windows server doesn't support sending logs, no? So we are doing it via polling, so via WMI. And if you have that kind of environment, might as well consider having the collectors in place on your network. So even you have distributed network, like for example, you have the head office and multiple remote branches, you just need to put collector there, and automatically it will send all the logs directly with the head office. Okay. The next one is our Forte SIEM as the security analytics platform. You can see across the top that it follows a traditional security incident and event management flows. The log events and alerts are sent from devices, applications, and services from across the ecosystem. And the Forte SIEM already have the built-in parser for those people, for those devices or solutions that we could be directly integrated. So if in case that you have third-party devices that, you know, we don't have the built-in parsers, the Forte SIEM is flexible enough to create custom parsers. So pwede yun via XML. So if you would like to have, if you would like us to help you guys in creating the parser, we have a dedicated PS team for doing that. Okay, so we've seen different environment like different third-party devices, and what we always do is to have a custom parser for those third-party devices. Okay, so what are the functionality or the key use cases of our FortiSIEM? Of course, the FortiSIEM has the capability to automatically detect and categorize those devices. So some of the vendors, as far as I know, they don't have the built-in CMDB, the configuration management database. So in FortiSIEM, automatically, if we do the scan, the devices are automatically categorized. Is it a firewall? Is it a switches? Is it a application servers? Automatically, so you don't need to have a third-party CMDB just to do that. And aside from that, we also have the configuration management. One of the challenge of the NOC is that marami tayong masyadong engineers, marami tayong masyadong analysts. Sometimes those changes that being done by the analyst or by the IT admin, hindi siya nare-record or there's no way to record them. So FortiSIEM has the capability to check the configuration change management. Everything, what is happening on your devices, lahat yun nare-record with FortiSIEM. Aside from that, in terms of response and automation workflows, the FortiSIEM could be directly integrated with third-party ticketing tool, like for example, the ServiceNow, and of course the FortiSOAR. Now, later on, I'll be talking about the FortiSOAR, which is our security operations. Sorry, guys. Let me. Yeah, later on, I'll be talking about our SOAR. All right. It will, kumbaga siya yung nag-create ng mga, nag-streamline ng mga process. Our Fortis are doing the automated playbook, workflows, streamline the process of the entire SOC, and all of that. Okay. So how the FortiSIEM look like? Okay. So I mentioned a while ago about our supervisor nodes. We also have our own class worker and the collectors. The worker and the collectors are actually optional. You don't have to have this one. It depends on the organizational requirements. The supervisor could actually be used as an all-in-one device, all-in-one SIEM. But of course, as I mentioned a while ago, depending on the number or the large volume of the EPS, we could actually have a rapid scale architecture. And let me have my pen for a while. So this is the one that I mentioned a while ago. This is really important to have in terms of implementing a rapid scale architecture. If you will be doing the all-in-one FortiSIEM, wherein there will be only supervisor node, medyo mahirap siya in terms of the scalability. So you need to have a third-party NFS event storage. We support NFS and Elastic. Okay. So these collectors, depending on our network architecture, like for example, if you have different remote offices and you have different data center as well, or maybe you have cloud environment, like for example, the AWS, the Azure, and you would like to monitor as well those cloud infrastructure, you may put a collector from the different sites and on the third-party cloud IaaS, like for example, the Amazon, the Azure. Okay. So this is how the architecture of the FortiSIEM. By the way, we also have our own agent, the Windows and the Linux. Okay, so if you would like to have a more incident, or I mean more events that we like to monitor on the endpoint level, like for example the Microsoft servers, Linux servers, you may leverage our own Windows and Linux agent. Okay. So what are the benefits of our SIEM? To summary, it is a powerful single pane of glass bringing together the NOC and the SOC in a single CMDB. FortiSIEM delivers the foundation for faster incident response and reduces time to remediate. As I mentioned a while ago, we have the SOAR-like functionality. Kumbaga, it could automatically respond to a certain incident. But of course, much better if we have our dedicated SOAR solutions. Okay. Our FortiSIEM is powered by our FortiGuard. FortiGuard is our threat intelligence labs. Okay. And of course, FortiSIEM is built on a rapidly scalable architecture. So whatever architecture you may have, for example, you may start with this specific log sources and you would like to increase, as long as that you are having a third-party NFS, it will be possible. And by the way, the collector are free. Okay, so just in case that you would like to have a multiple collector, via virtualized environment or via VM, it is actually free, no? As long as that you have your own environment. Okay. So lastly, I'll be talking about our FortiSOAR. So basically, the SOAR is it orchestrates the collection of the data, it automates the workflows, and the incident response. Okay. So what are the fundamental use cases of the FortiSOAR? We have here unified response management, alert triage automation, SOC optimization, and SOC collaboration. Okay. The first one is the unified incident response management. Instead of a time-consuming fragmented process, we have consolidated the overall process. So everything, it has the connectors connecting different devices, like for example, firewall, the FortiSIEM. What we're actually doing is that all of the devices will be sending logs or events directly with our FortiSIEM, and the FortiSIEM will be directly connected with our FortiSOAR. Then it will automate the process. No, for that kind of architecture, mas efficient yung network natin. No? We don't have a lot of connectors in place on our FortiSOAR. And if in case that you have third-party devices that doesn't have a built-in connector on the FortiSOAR, you just need, we have our own FortiSOAR SDK. So you could create or you could custom a playbook or a connector for the FortiSOAR. Okay. So, all right. The next one is alert triage automation. FortiSOAR provides an AI-driven recommendation engine. It's designed to further automate the alert triage process by not only automating some of these steps, but also providing a recommendation to the analyst. Usually, if we are SOC analyst, usually mga tier 1 natin, no, we are a lot of maybe false positive. One of the problems that was raised a while ago is how are we going to monitor the false positive? Okay, so if you have the using our recommendation engine, those false positive, as long as it is being monitored as false positive initially, automatically the FortiSOAR could recommend those to those analysts that it could be automatically mawawala na siya, no? Kumbaga, automatically it will be tagged as the false positive. Okay, so one of the use cases is for the SOC analyst. The next one is SOC automation. So nabanggit natin kanina, one of the problems, the manual response. Slow response, it takes hours, it takes days, no? So using our out-of-the-box tailored FortiSOAR dashboard, you may actually see how your SOC analyst team are performing. We have the KPIs. You have the how long you, kumbaga, the dashboard could provide you how long you resolve the incidents. No? From there, no, you could improve or you could optimize your SOC teams. Okay, we have that KPI dashboard for SOC. We also have use case built-in playbooks, and those playbooks could be customized as well depending on the organizational requirements. You know? And you know, it depends on how you respond to the incidents, kung paano gagawin, and you could actually do it by automated playbook. Lastly is the SOC collaboration. So as I mentioned a while ago, one of the problems of our SOC environments is that they are siloed. We have dedicated team managing this infrastructure. We have dedicated team managing the network, and they are not collaborating. Okay, so FortiSOAR actually addresses the communication gap. We have the so-called incident war room. This incident war room collaborates the entire team. For example, those people managing the firewalls, those people managing this specific endpoint, those people, those analysts managing specific email security. They could have on the war room, and they could communicate to each other and resolves everything. And aside from this, we also have our own mobile apps by our Forti Explorer. So if in case that there is an attack, you could be notified via mobile, and you could also control or automate the response via mobile. Parang isang click lang, you could resolve, you could kumbaga yung playbook, pwede mo siyang i-run automatically, even you are in the house, no, or you are working from the road, no, so you could do automation or response via mobile applications. Okay. So this is typical enterprise architecture. As I mentioned a while ago, usually when we are designing the SOC, everything, the logs, the events are being feeds directly with FortiSIEM. all of the logs coming from, like for example, for the firewall, they are being feeds directly for the SIEM. Then everything will be feeds to the FortiSOAR. If you have third party, as I mentioned a while ago, you could use our connectors. These connectors is actually a bidirectional connectors. It could have the feeds coming from third party. You could also use the connector to remediate the action to the firewall. Okay. Aside from that, you could enrich the intelligence from integrating from third party, like for example, anomaly threat stream, Facebook threat exchange. If you also have the recorded future, those are third party threat intelligence that could be directly integrated with the FortiSOAR. Okay, so this is the typical enterprise architecture. If you have, like for example, a geographically separated offices, like for example, if you would like to have our own dedicated tenant of the FortiSOAR for different places, you could have our own multi-tenant hybrid tenancy architecture. Kumbaga magkakaroon ka ng isang master node, then each of the sites, like for example, on my slides we have here the customer and the customer 1 and customer 2, but this could be a site 1 or the site 2. And if you have different teams from different locations and you would like to locally run the playbook, you could have different tenant node, like for this one. Okay. So if in case that you don't have you don't want to put a FortiSOAR node, you would have our own agent node. There's an agent node that can be installed or implement to the different para siyang ano lang siya, Linux based na lagyan mo lang yung ano doon, yung agent, automatically it would automate the response locally, no? You don't need to have the connection to the FortiSOAR master node just to enable the playbook or the automation response. There will be a local response already. So this on my patapos na yung presentation ko, the next one will be, you know, some of the components that you could have in place, no, on top of those core SOC solutions, like for example the EDR, the SIEM, and the SOAR. Okay? So we have the so-called the FortiDeceptor. So FortiDeceptor is our honeypot solutions. So I've seen a lot of organizations, they are, kumbaga, in terms of honeypot solutions, so hindi pa sila gaano ka kumbaga knowledgeable, no. So there's no deception technology in place on their network. So we have that FortiDeceptor just in case that you would like to have a honeypot. So honeypot is basically a vulnerable system. So kumbaga you are implementing a vulnerable system to monitor the behavior of the attackers. But the FortiDeceptor, it is actually a honeypot with steroids. Kumbaga, it have the decoys, the lures that is being implemented across different VLANs, no? Even OT environment, even data center VLAN, no? You could have different decoys on what are the variable assets that we are protecting. Okay. The FortiAnalyzer, for those people who already have the FortiGate, no? FortiAnalyzer is just a logging and reporting dedicated within the security fabric. Okay. So if you have the FortiAnalyzer, you have a little bit functionality of the SIEM and FortiSOAR, no? Meron din siyang automation on the FortiAnalyzer. However, this is within the security fabric. So ibig sabihin, within Fortinet solutions only, no? So if we have multi-vendor ecosystem, we may leverage our FortiSIEM. Okay. The next one is FortiInsights. FortiInsights is our UABA functionality. So it is also an agent, but how it works, it monitors the behavior of the users. For example, meron tayong users, and as part of our company policy, those confidential information, documents, and everything should not be uploaded to third-party storage, for example, Google Drive, or those confidential documents could not be sent through, you know, Viber. So using FortiInsight or UABA, you could actually monitor the possible insider threats. No, you would monitor yung mga behavior ng mga users natin or mga employee natin. Okay, we have that FortiInsight, and this FortiInsight could actually be integrated directly with FortiSIEM. Okay. The next one or the last one is the FortiAI. So FortiAI is a virtual analyst. Para kang merong dedicated security analyst in place on your network. So it monitors everything. Depending on how it implement, no, pwedeng sniffer mode, pwedeng integrated mode, depende. Para kang merong dedicated FortiGuard malware analyst on the SOC. Kung solo ka lang SOC analyst, dalawa na kayo, no, using our FortiAI. Okay. So, okay, what are the Fortinet powered SOC objectives? So this is my last slide. So using our core solutions, you could build a secure and autonomous SOC. You could also respond to advanced threat and reduce the time to response. No, as I mentioned, one of the modern challenges for the SOC is how we respond to incidents. No, it will take hours, sometimes days pa. No, it take months. No, that's really mabagal na masyado, and there's a lot, marami na nangyari. No, and of course, okay, optimize the SOC response process through automation, through playbook. The playbook we have is via FortiSOAR, and via on the endpoint level is our FortiEDR. So it actually resolved the issue of having a lack of trained people. It also resolved the challenge of having a manual response and a slow response. Okay. So ayun, if in case that you would like us to have a more deep presentation of each of the products, and you would like to do POC, you would like to have us to do a demo of all of the solution, you may directly coordinate with the VST, Kalapong, no? Kalalori. Okay, sakto lang. That ends my presentation.